G'day everybody, this is Vagabond Sam. You're watching the second episode of my dive into Shroud of the Avatar Forsaken Virtues and looking at the game from the beginning through until about the midpoint in terms of character progression. We're focusing on the story here in this video. If you haven't seen the first video, here's a link in the clicky click there. Basically what we're going to be doing is progressing through the new user experience. So here we are, and let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to notice is that I've talked to this elf, and I didn't actually pay much attention because I was immediately clicking and then going to try and find this elf's name, and I typed name, which is one of the keywords that triggers a dialogue in this game. Unfortunately, the elf mistook that for me saying my name was name, and those of you with keen eyes would have noticed that an NPC asked my name in the first video, and my response was, I go by Kurisak, saying, trying to have a dialogue. And of course the response was to then think that my name was I go by Kurisak, not Kurisak, but the full I go by Kurisak. Anyway, quick recap of the mission that we're on. We're asked by the leader of the elf refugees to go and find some evidence of the vigilantes' plans to basically assault and kill the elves that they've driven out of their village in Blood River. And what that boils down to is go and kill bandits until you get a very specific drop. Now, this might sound very similar to World of Warcraft type quests where you need to go and get boar tusks or wolf pelts or whatever the drop might be by killing the NPCs that are related to that drop until you get the drop. And you'd be quite accurate in that assumption because that's exactly what we're doing here in Shroud of the Avatar. One of the things I think that the game struggles with is its identity, where it tries to present itself as a very narrative-driven, strong single-player RPG experience that also has the ability to be played in multiplayer or MMO, massively multiplayer online modes. I'm not entirely convinced that that is a fair representation of the game, given that this is a very recent addition to the game. So this particular scene, and part of the reason why I'm showcasing it, is that these new user experiences, they're not actually part of the game as it was envisioned originally when the team was looking at developing, this game as a whole. Evidence of that, if we look up to the left, is that I've actually got two quests in my quest journal. So the Vigilante one is obviously the one that I'm doing at the moment, but the Burn Steel Dagger quest below it, that's the original quest that the game expected the player to actually go and complete. And basically when they first introduced the free trial, that's the current way we're playing, is using a trial account, players were actually disengaging from the game very quickly. Because when you enter the game, originally you would do that short encounter we saw in the first video, and then immediately you would be in the middle of a relatively large and directionless sandbox, which, I'm not saying a sandbox is a bad thing, but again, we're looking at a game with a lens that says there's a deep 40-hour single-player story with choices, consequences, has a heritage and pedigree that goes back to Ultima games, which are much beloved, which is quite obvious when you look at particularly retro video game history, something that I'm not personally familiar with. I grew up with things like Final Fantasy and Super Mario Brothers, Street Fighter, much more on the Nintendo Japanese side of things when I was a kid in sort of the early 90s, late 80s, all that sort of stuff. So I certainly don't have that sort of nostalgia for Richard Garriott or Ultima Online or Ultima 7, two of the games that are often referenced not just by the fans of this game but also by the team making Shroud of the Avatar. Anyway, enough rambling. So during that little grind session there, I actually picked up the plans, and when I was actually playing this, I didn't actually notice until about then. But also in the top right hand corner you can also see that I'm over encumbered from the rusty weapons I've been picking up from the bandits. So it's time to go back. It's time to progress the story. Exciting. We've actually got the first quest out in the big world complete. and we're going to head back now and hand it in. We might speed it up a bit because this run back and forward is actually going to be pretty common. So while I do speed this up, unfortunately I can't speed it up faster than this currently, just a bit of software limitation with what I'm using and skill level. But pay attention to exactly how long it takes for me to kill enemies at the moment. Now, this isn't actually an issue per se, but it'll be a very good example of just how quickly the character grows in the initial sort of hour of gameplay. Completing these quests is actually going to give us some very significant experience. Currently I've got a few focus issues and cooldown issues because I haven't unlocked any more skills, which I will solve that problem I don't think too far in the future. But also the other reason I don't want to do a cut here is because when I get back to the Elven village, we run into a very interesting issue. So we've not changed modes. Here I'm sort of looking, I was getting sick of all the darkness, but put the saturation up so it's a bit brighter and took the camera up. Our friend is gone. Now again, up the top you see the sparkle indicator that indicates that he should still be there. That is his location. NPCs they're not really ambulant beyond their immediate vicinity, but the elves are gone. So this was a populated area. It had the blacksmith, it had merchants, had guards, it had someone that actually completed quests with, and yet they're gone. Now I had to quickly alt tab, so it was a bit interrupted, but here we are changing modes again to try and get the correct NPCs to spawn. Now I've tried to fix this by reinstalling the game. There has been a patch since I played. I've tried logging into my main account and I find that NPCs do appear to go missing, and I don't know what causes it. So here we are loading back in to try and being able to finish our quest, which maybe I should speed up these loading screens, but I feel like leaving them as I experience them in game is probably fair. And look, our friends are back. So we've now changed modes twice. So this is the mode we got to the camp in and the elves were gone. We changed modes, they appeared again. Did our quest, came back, they were gone. So now we've changed back to where we were. So here's someone that does actually have some side quests for us if we happen to pick up any little bits and pieces. We're over encumbered, so it's time to sell all our stuff. So basically everything you pick up from NPCs is trash. And you've got your shift click that helps you pick a whole range of things at once. A few hundred gold for all that, which is doesn't seem like much, but you never really make much more money in the game. But all this stuff weighs us down, so. And basically, you saw me swinging pretty wildly at those bandits, not killing them. The sword is the one piece of equipment that you start with that is actually really bad quality, and it's a significant upgrade if you go to a merchant very quickly and get something that is of basic quality rather than rusty quality. So this is going to help make life a lot easier. Also, as someone that casts magic, the wand has a buff to your spell casting chance, so it reduces how often you fizzle, which is basically the spell fails to go off. Heavy armor and I think weapons, mostly armor, like breastplates and stuff, they'll actually increase your fizzle chance significantly. So I tend to, when I'm using magic and melee, I will use both a sword and a wand, because why not? I don't mind that as an idea. Like conceptually, that's fun. Very D&D to sort of just hold a wand in one hand to cast, magic missile or whatever. Although that's not exactly how it works in this game. But yeah, it'll work for now. So now we have the item that the NPC was after, the manifesto for the vigilantes. And there we have 4,000 experience, which is pretty massive at this early in the game. That probably would have gained me 5 levels. But yes, So we've also got some gold, which is going to be useful to train some skills, and skills I need pretty badly because at the moment I've just been using Searing Ray and then auto attacking, which is really, really inefficient. So again, if you are playing the game, you know, God have mercy on your soul, but you want to train up skills as soon as you can, and basically get a quest done, go and unlock some skills, and you'll be much, much faster. So let's move on with the quest. So again, we've got this massive text dump. I'm not going to read it out because I just feel silly. And he's getting a bit confused, asking for the manifesto that I have already given him. I'm not sure why. I think I actually failed, because I dragged in more than just the manifesto. And no, but the quest got completed. Right. So I think it did progress actually, but he has a bug, I believe, while I'm playing through this particular scenario, where he'll ask for that first manifesto a few times, even though I've progressed further in the quest, which we'll see as we sort of come up. So here we go, asking for a name, give him Kuros. And then finally I get the name of that guy. Talk a bit of shit there, but anyway. This guy's got nothing useful for me, since reagents aren't really used until you get some sort of deep spell from the different spell trees. Look at that guy dancing. These are refugees, lost their home. Friends and family have died, but let's have a dance. If I was a betting man, he probably has a quest or some way to learn that emote from him. So at this point, I believe I'm actually looking for the trainer to try and train those skills. And if I remember correctly, I actually struggled to find them. Now, this is on me because the adventurer trainer is actually in a treehouse, which I don't recognize as a house because it's a tree. And the rest of the elves are in a camp, so I was sort of expecting camp-like locations. So help is how you get people to give you quests. It'll trigger anyone that has something for you to do. And this particular person is after their ring. So, again, exposition dumps, and I'm kind of sick of talking about it, but, if I keep going through my playthrough like this, that's pretty much what we're going to see for the entire time. So, I'm torn. I'm of two minds. Part of me wants to show the game sort of minute for minute, or at least unabridged in terms of cutting and jumping everywhere, because you start cutting things and then people will start to sort of suggest that you're not giving it a fair chance, or you're not showing everything and you're being unfair. But if I leave everything in, my videos get boring. But then the game's boring, so maybe the video should be boring so it reflects the game. Who knows? But what I really, really want to stress at this point, in terms of, I do have a couple of extra side quests, so if I find elven wine or if I find heirlooms, I can turn them in for experience and gold, and they will be continual turn-ins that I can continue, so I could actually farm them, which I've got a feeling that that's actually a really good experience if you were to try and power game this early level anyway, because those vigilantes are nothing, particularly when you've got a few skills under your belt and you get a few levels. But that's alright. In terms of the main quest though, what we're doing is we're trying to get another manifesto to drop. So part 2 of the quest is actually exactly the same. We are going to kill these vigilantes until they drop another manifesto. Funnily enough, it'll be part 2. So again, what is this? I could make this quest in RPG Maker, VX or MX or whatever version it is I happen to have. There's the ring we got, random drop. We're stacking quests just like early WoW. And we also got the stage 2 manifesto as well. So I've actually completed it. Now, here is where we are going to have a quick pause. Now, what I'm going to do for this is I'm actually going to put these up on the screen while the game continues in the background. I actually stop and read these at this point. Now, I could have read the first one when I initially picked it up, but I actually forgot it was a clickable item. And let's go and read number 1 now. Stage 1, Operation Vengeance. In order to prevent further incidents like what happened at/near the Elven Blood River village, it is essential to eradicate the Elven threat. The first stage of this operation consists of the following. I, with Righteous Vengeance, attack and overwhelm the Elven village in Blood River. It is they who carried out the attack and slaughter of the human settlers, so it is up to me and you to retaliate without prejudice. A. Naturally, there will no doubt be survivors, but kill as many of the unnatural creatures as possible before Elven reinforcements arrive. 2. Once we have done all we can with the Elven village, we will pursue the refugee elves into Blood River Outskirts. There is nowhere else for them to go, as this is the most logical choice for them to retreat. 3. Once we know the location of the Elven refugee camp in Blood River Outskirts, we will set up our own camp and prepare for Stage 2. Commander Phileas Drumpelmouth. Now, at the risk of beating a dead horse at this point, I'm going to throw up the Stage 2 plans. I'm not going to read these ones verbatim or verbatim, depending on how you want to say it, but let me just point out that this is the storytelling method that makes up the backbone of the goddamn game, and we're looking at plans for extermination of the elves, and look at the way it's set out. 1A, no B. 2A, no B. Why the fuck is it 1A? Why isn't it just not 1? Hunt down and kill Elven Scout patrols, because that's our goal, to make sure that they either run out of patrol resources or they're too scared. Done. Don't need A. So they're trying to use formatting to add to a text file. These are text files. We are being fed text files to tell a story. It doesn't look any different from a book. It does look different from a book, but it looks no different from any other note we get in our goddamn inventory. Now, I sound probably a bit more angry now because I have paused the game to do a few different takes to get the reading as close to right as I can be bothered to get. But the more I thought about it, the more I looked at those files, the angrier I got that gets put in a game that's meant to be about story. And here we are back in the Elven camp, and guess what? The elves are fucking gone. Again, anger level is a bit out of whack with the editing I've done to do different takes, but that's where I'm at the moment. I thought about actually doing this again with my main character. I don't really want to... one of the issues is my main character is obviously way too strong for any of this to be a challenge. But in saying that, at this point, this is not a challenge anyway for a new character, so who cares? But it's really good experience, pretty decent gold income. But I just can't face going back to this switching of instances again and again and again. What is this? I think this is the second time on this video. I did it once in the first video, so up to 3 times, and we are not even close to being done yet. So here's our loading screen. Get used to that. Now, they've improved these loading screens by, I think, 50%. I'm not sure if that means they've reduced it by half or if it's a third less, because percentages depend on which way you're measuring it from. And here our elven friend is back. Fantastic. So my cat's now meowing. I'm going to leave that in because whatever. And for whatever reason, it remembers what my selections were before I hand in stuff, and I basically have issues and just go, fuck it, give it all. He doesn't take any of it, and I'm fumbling with the UI at this point. Like, I've played this game for 300 hours since Persistence, and the UI still is not good. So let's have another go. So here I'm trying to get the right prompt so I can actually try and give him the items again. Struggling to get back to where I need to be. Yeah, check. Yes, it says I'm on stage 2. So normally when you've actually got the item, it will give you the pop up immediately saying, quest item, blah, give to so and so. Not doing it, so let's log out, log back in. Let's try and do it again. And I think I noticed as I'm logging out, his hand's sparkly, which usually indicates that, you know, he is ready to receive, if I can put it that way. There's a bit of a subtle joke there, because I've got to do something while these loading screens are on, because I've either got to edit these out of the game, but I'll probably start editing this loading ridiculousness out at some point, just because there's more of the game I want to cover, and the loading screens are just fucking up the video. Man, my anger energy has really risen since that last cut. So here we go, talk to him again, still not giving me the specific dialogue. You know, try those underlined words to get the, you know, check to make sure I've got it. Now, it looks like I lost it. I forgot that happened. So one thing I'll take note of here, it was on screen earlier, but I've actually increased the saturation of the game to make it a bit more colourful, so that's why the game appears quite bright, at least vivid in terms of the colours, particularly the grass and stuff. It's because I've actually gone and changed that myself. Not changed that myself, sorry. The game, it is a game option, it's legit part of the game, so happy days. Kill. I can't remember how I solved this issue. But back running around killing bandits now. I've been in this scene for, I think by now, probably... Let's check. I've been in this scene for about half an hour, and all I've done is kill bandits. There's an heirloom, so I can give that in to the NPC that's looking for heirlooms, and that'll give me some experience and stuff. Cast a good old light spell. Now, again, if you are looking at playing the game and you're just using this for impressions and, you know, to see the game before you buy it, you want night vision. This is basically useless at night time because it's a very short radius in terms of what it illuminates, whereas night vision will actually let you see all the way to the vanishing point for the game. I don't need to fucking kill wolves. So again, just looking for vigilantes. Now, there is a camp of vigilantes, but we will get to that. I sort of assumed the drop wouldn't happen too far away. So that issue I had with the UI feels like it destroyed the item that the quest actually wanted me to hand in, which usually they don't. So here's the gathering. Now, when I started that nice mechanical semicircle around, that was actually the time I hit the button. So despite the fact that it's actually got the progress bar there, technically it's taken me from, you know, twice as long as that to actually harvest, because the game forces your character to walk in a very specific direction, a very specific turn, into a very specific part of the plant to actually harvest, and it sort of increases the gathering grind quite a bit if you think about how many times you need to gather something to actually get a skill up and to actually get the items you need to craft, which again, that's a video in and of itself. So we've actually skipped now, and I've gone back to the camp because I basically was trying to farm that item again and never got it. And again, we've gone back to the camp and just want to show elves have gone. You'll have to take my word for it. Jump cut didn't cut out me switching modes or anything. We are, what, 25 days from release, and this is the one of 3 starter experiences. Last release I had the same experience in Highvale, so I can only assume that the third, I forget the name of the third one, Soultown Outskirts, Soulless Bridge Outskirts, sorry, is likely to have the same issue. So here he is back. We haven't got the drop yet, but we have logged off the game and logged back onto the game, and we got our drop. We didn't get our drop, sorry. We got the screen that allows us to hand it in. Now again, 6 hours experience, massive amount of development, and a bunch of gold, and yeah, and time to continue the hunt. So now we're actually being sent to the vigilante camp to actually find even more evidence, because two written plans, sorry, not manifestos, but specific plans signed by the perpetrator found on his men, not enough. So again, trying to hand in some stuff. This particular one doesn't give you the pop-up because it's a repeatable quest, I assume. And here's where I find out that you can't actually hand in multiples at once. I can't go, hey, here's an heirloom and 3 bottles of wine. I'll take one at a time. So 50 gold, but the experience is what you're really after for this particular hand-in. 1500 experience is pretty good, and considering that this is all passive stuff that I've received by just doing the main quest, definitely not something you want to skip out on. So the UI is not great. We've already struggled with that before, but now we have a multiple hand-in quest where we have to generate that UI every time and do it one at a time to get our rewards. Bad design. Come on. It is 2018 now. I shouldn't be going through these menus multiple times, clicking the same keyword multiple times to hand the same thing to this. Like, I'm very aware I'm playing a video game right now, I'll put it that way. Now we'll hand the betrothal band. So this is actually a unique story in that you can only do it once. Handed in. What have we done? We've been asked to get the ring. We've killed a random vigilante. There's been no interaction, no tension, nothing whatsoever in that interaction to actually get the ring. Handed it over. Been thanked. Where am I? Nowhere is the answer to that. There's no tension being built. This game is meant to be based around the virtues, much like the Ultimas, which however many they had, did they have 8 or something like that? It was certainly more than 3. But you look at the start of the game where it sets up this theoretical tension between being courageous versus being truthful versus being loving. Do you lovingly lie to someone to protect their feelings, or do you truthfully tell them the things they need to hear? Do you courageously go and protect someone that's being attacked, or do you truthfully stand guard and do what you were told to do as a soldier? It sort of sets up this expectation that we're exploring the difference between our actions relative to our convictions. Nothing, not one thing has made me question that in this experience so far. Now, I'm not saying that's not in the game. I know there are some quests that do make you think, do I do this or that? But I'm looking at this scene. I'm looking at the new user experience for someone that decides to be a mage and goes to the Blood River Outskirts. That betrothal band didn't ask me anything. Didn't question my truthfulness, my lovingness, my courage. It just was a thing I had to do. Bland, boring, not interesting. So far, the establishment of the foil in this scene, which is Phineas, Drumplemouth, all we get is a very two-dimensional cartoon, Saturday morning, evil, selfish xenophobe. That's it. There's no motivation for it. There's no development of, well, he had a family member that was killed by an elf. There was no, he's losing business because the elves are too shrewd in their merchant or trading economies. There's no real sympathy being built up. Now, a villain is evil, and that's fine if they want to set up a villain, but the best villains are villains that are someone you can feel empathy towards. You might think, I understand why they're doing what they're doing, but the way they're doing it's wrong. That to me is sort of the ideal, or I guess I should say the bare minimum. And so there we have walking into the fire because we went to chat to an NPC and we auto-pathed into the fire. Fantastic. Anyway, I'm rambling. What we're going to do is we're going to quickly jump to Phineas Drumplemouth, and we're actually going to look at some text with him, because there's a lot of aimlessness that sort of comes up at this point where the game doesn't give me good guidance, doesn't hold my hand because I need my hand held, especially when I can't predict what the game's actually after. There's a poi spinner because why not? Refugees. So look, we're going to skip to that because I'm rambling. Alright, so we're skipping to where I entered the Vigilante camp for the first time now. I took some time to go and get some extra skills, so I've started spending that experience to help level those up, and I've chosen to use fire and blades fire for the nice little damage over time, or dot as it is also known, and blades because I've got a sword. My main is actually a fire blade type build as well, so I figure I'm pretty comfortable with it. Let's go with it because it also has abilities that can hit more than one enemy. So just like that fire fist there, which is hitting both of those, which is nice. So we are on the quest where we need to go to the vigilante camp, and we need to find that evidence because, like I said, those signed writs were not good enough. While playing through I skipped a bunch because I actually went to a different city to find a trainer because I couldn't find the trainer that was right under my nose, and that took some time, and I had to change modes because NPCs weren't appearing, and I couldn't find the trainer partly because of that. I guess because I didn't know specifically where the trainer was here, and I wouldn't know if I was in the right mode for it to appear, and I went to a city where I knew where the trainer was, so I could force it to appear by switching modes. But there we go, there's the encampment. We're going to head over and try and find our way in. Now, no one guarding it, which is weird. And the door is actually locked. A dude coming up attacking us. Now, this is really cool. You're going to see some emergent gameplay here. So we've got a locked gate in front of us. How are we going to figure this out? What are we going to do to get around that gate? What we're going to do, so this fortification, you know, keeping the camp nice and secure. Let's try and find a way around this. Let's role play a little bit. I made sure I didn't have the key in case it dropped off a bandit, which probably silly for me to do because if I did have the key, it would have automatically worked. You know, some nice elves just on pikes there, just in case you didn't know that these guys are evil. Let's explore. Let's have a look around. Let's find another way to tackle this problem. Let's just go around here. Let's mount and goat a little bit, and we're in. The fence doesn't go all the way around. Well, I can't clip through there. Or can I? No, I can't. Actually, let's see if I make it. Can I make it? I don't think I make it. That's alright, because we are still technically inside the compound. I just need to go around the other side of that tent, and that is well and truly inside the camp. Fantastic. Now, spoiler alert, there should be people in here, and there's not, so guess what we're going to do now? We are going to have to change modes. There it is, another mode change. So there's actually guards that approach you if you're in, I say in the correct mode, but really it's not that I'm not in the correct mode, it's that the game doesn't work at the moment. But there's a guard at the gate that will actually approach you and ask you, you know, hey, should you be here, basically. And if you had spoken to another vigilante that for some reason doesn't attack you like all the others, they'll actually give you a job and say, oh, can you help me out? By the way, the password is cleansing because they're cleansing the elves. And so if you type cleansing to the gate guard, they will let you in. Or you can kill the gate guard and get their key. Either way, I think that's how the game expects you to do it, but you just walk around. So we've changed our modes. We have our NPCs back. We can continue our quest. Now, our quest is still find evidence. So we've infiltrated, and now we're looking for evidence. We can't open it from that side. Whatever. And where's our friend Drumplemouth? There he is, Drumplemouth, in his tent. Let's have a chat. G'day, Drumplemouth. So I want you to pay attention to his text here and the way he talks, and think about whether or not it's a clever piece of satire. So here, Phineas is asking us to help him. So first he wants us to prove ourselves to him by finding some scalps of the elves. A very gruesome task, but I believe this is a point where the game more or less is giving you an option for divergence. This is a choice that can have consequences should you wish to pursue them. Now, I personally didn't, because I found the idea relatively abhorrent. Elf scalps versus saving people being attacked by sort of invading forces. Not super compelling. I'm not much of a dark side sort of person, even in games. So I just sort of went with it. So here's where I'm trying to figure out what is the trigger. So you see how my quest log will actually update when I get the stage plans and find what the next step is meant to be. It'll go, okay, you've got the plan, now go back to the elf. I could not figure this one out. I'll be quite honest. I was told to come here and find evidence, and I was damned if I was going to leave without actually finding evidence. So this is a part where I think, oh shit, there must be something lying around. There must be something I can click on, some interactive point that will update my quest. If I talk to someone, if I ask someone the right questions, maybe I'll get some information. My quest log still says find evidence in the vigilante camp. But no. So it's really hard for me to sort of determine whether or not this is on me or this is on the game. But the answer to this part of the question is not that I need to find something in this camp that will actually update my quest log and say, yes, you now have the thing you need to go back to the elven camp with. All I needed to do was to get that quest from Donald. I almost spoiled it. From Drumplemouth. And once I've had that quest, I would be able to go back to the elves. So this is the point where I attempt to get my fire spells up and running and basically kill everyone in the camp. So my thought process at this point was, right, I can't figure out the evidence I need. I'm going to choose to kill these people. But I can't. So I don't actually have the... Let's think about this. Let's go back to single multiplayer. Let's go back to single player online, where you are able to have games with choice, consequence, and sort of multiple ways of solving them. Kind of like how we solved our way into the camp by walking around the wall and being inside the camp, because the wall doesn't extend around the entire camp. I decide, well, if I kill him, the problem's solved. The elves will be happy and safe. They might scold me for being a killer, but that should be an option. To me, anyway, in a game like this, it should be an option. But it's not. So I've only got choices when the game presents me with a choice, and it's a pretty drastic choice. Scalp the elves or save the elves. And it's also a pretty obvious choice straight up. So here, look, checking the quest log because I can't figure it out. I can't kill them. What do I do? Spoiler. All I needed to do at this point was actually go back to the elves and tell the elves Donald Trump. Oh, Jesus. I keep calling him Donald Trump now. Drumplemouth is just asking me to work for him, and they sort of go from there. But look, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the rest of the new user experience and sort of end the video coverage of this particular quest line, because I don't think it's going to add much more to the game. These quests are the most developed. This story is the most recently written. These scenes are the most recently designed. So theoretically, it only goes down from here. So we're actually going to explore that in a bit more depth. So what my plan is going to be, part of me wanted to actually unlock this account to be a full account, so I could keep going with a relatively low level character. I'm not sure yet whether I'll do that, because I frankly don't want to spend money on the game, or if I'll use my main account and just deal with the fact that it's a level 55 character and it's not going to be a good representation of the difficulty of the game. By the time I finish this zone, my character's level 22 anyway, and I have tried the story before with my level 55 on one of the paths, and very quickly, like the second scene, I think, outside of the equivalent new user experience, I was actually in a zone that was already too difficult for a level 55 character. I didn't grind for it all, but it's a 300-hour character. So, yeah, anyway, next time what I'll be looking at is I'll be looking at the monetization of the game before I go back to the questing experience outside of the new user experience and the sort of questing experience in Nova in general. Before that, I want to look at how the game makes its money, because it's not making its money from selling boxes, from selling copies on Steam. It is the cheapest thing in the game is buying entry, and after that things get a bit crazy. So we'll be looking at the cash shop, we'll be looking at the monetization strategy, we'll be looking at whether or not Shroud of the Avatar has items that are indeed pay to win or whether they are just cosmetic, and for that I'll be switching over to my main account. So thank you for watching. Again, this video has gone a bit long. I want to try and keep them to around 20-25 minutes, but I think this game has sort of got a lot of density in it that doesn't make it easy to sort of cover it for 20 minutes and find an easy place to stop. And yeah, I think that's something that we'll have to get better with in time. So thank you for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. What I'll be doing is trying to post a video every Tuesday between now and release, and if you'd like to make sure that you are able to follow that, please subscribe, hit like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you've played the game, if you think I'm not giving it a fair shot, I'm more than willing to hear about other people's experiences, and listen to any recommendations on where I should be looking to try and find the bits of the game that sort of make those people that love it, because I'm curious about why people are so in love with this game that they can spend so much money on it. And without any spoilers, I'll be looking at that in more depth in the next video, particularly seeing as today was the day where they raised $110,000 from cash shop sales. So yes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.